Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Games That Never Were. Today we're going to be taking a look at Hugo 2, Whodunit. Hugo 2 Whodunit is an adventure game designed by independent software developer David P. Gray and published as shareware by Gray Design Associates in 1991. It is the sequel to 1990's Hugo's House of Horrors, and it was followed by Hugo 3, Jungle of Doom in 1992. Following the events of Hugo's House of Horrors, Hugo and Penelope visit Hugo's great uncle Horace at his mansion in England. They arrive in their guest room and Penelope decides to take a nap. While she sleeps, Hugo discovers a secret passage behind a bookcase and then just straight up disappears. When Penelope wakes up, she hears arguing and looks through a keyhole to see great Uncle Horace being stabbed to death. As she passes out from fright and regains consciousness, she discovers the secret passage that Hugo went down to. As you play as Penelope, she explores the house and the outside garden, avoiding deadly killer bees and Venus flytraps, navigating a hedge maze, and crossing a bridge over a stream, which is one of the most difficult aspects of the game. She meets the old man from the very first Hugo's House of Horrors, but unfortunately, this time around, we don't have time for those trivial questions. Now, I don't want to talk about the entire game, it'll ruin everything, and there's a special appearance by somebody like who? Alright, so now we gotta talk about the gameplay. Whodunit retains its gameplay from Hugo's House of Horrors. The player controls Hugo at the very beginning and the end, and throughout the entire game, you play as Penelope, with the arrow keys and the keyboard that enters commands and the text down below to interact with the environment. But you have to use simple English in order to navigate Penelope through everything, such as you did with Hugo in the very first game. Now, the game also provides a save load function and a boss key to hide the program. Now, we described this in episode 15. Now, the F4 and the F5 are to save and load, and the F9 was the boss key. Now, if you remember, the boss key was super important because hitting F9 would inadvertently change the program to a DOS mode where it would show just a simple few commands on screen if your boss was checking in on you to see if you were doing work. And you might be surprised that a lot of DOS games actually include a boss key within them. Now, here's something really interesting. When the Hugo trilogy was re-released for Windows and not the DOS mode, everything was changed to a point and click. Instead of typing everything at the very bottom, you got to point and click, which made things a little bit more easier. Now, this is where people have a bit of a problem with the game. Unlike its predecessor, Hugo House of Horrors, Penelope is the main character for most of Whodunit, with Hugo only being playable during the first and last moments of the game. But Whodunit is also longer than Hugo's House of Horrors, with more areas to explore and more puzzles to solve. Now, we are going to have to take this with the good and the bad. I really enjoyed this game, but there were a ton of problems. First up, the hedge maze was ridiculously long, and there's 3 items that you must get in the game to keep on going. If you miss any of these items, like you would in Hugo's House of Horrors, you will fail the game and have to start all the way back to the very beginning. So remember, F4 saving is very important. Next up is the Venus flytrap scene. I'm going to tell you right now, this was probably the worst part of the game. As you can tell, I keep dying at the same part over and over again. It is almost near pixelated perfect movement. This area took several turns to do. It was just ridiculous just to get the magnifying glass up above. The last part I want to talk about right here would be the bridge. This is almost pixelated perfect as well, because if you somehow inadvertently, which you will, hit the edge of the bridge, you will drop your matches. And if you drop your matches, what the game doesn't tell you is when you pick them back up and you go through the entire game getting to a certain part of the game where you have to use the matches, well, unfortunately, your matches are now wet and you can't use them, making the rest of the game unplayable. Now, I have seen other people do this and they just absolutely go over the bridge, no problem. But I'm telling you right now, I had such a hard time doing this. Every single time I dropped the matches. And my first playthrough, I can tell you right now that when I dropped them, I didn't realize that they got wet, and then it just told me I couldn't go any further. Okay, now let's get on to some more facts about the game. Now, did you know that Whodunit was developed as a sequel to Hugo's House of Horrors, which was primarily based on Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards? Did you also know that the original DOS game was written in Microsoft Quick C, and that the port to Windows was written in Visual C++? Also, David Gray cited his love for Agatha Christie murder mysteries as a major inspiration for the game's theme, and he said that his choice to give the game a female protagonist was also intentional. Alright, let's go ahead and end this video off with something really good about the game. The graphics are amazing. They're a lot better than what they were in Hugo's House of Horror. The scope of the entire game of Whodunit is even bigger and better. Now, to end off on a final note, I will have to say I did enjoy playing Hugo to Whodunit, and I enjoyed the switch up from Hugo to Penelope. The game itself is much bigger, the graphics are a lot better, but with that being said, the puzzles are poorly done. So, have you played Hugo to Whodunit? If so, let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more forgotten games of the past that you may not have played. I'll see you on the next episode.